Haiti Nowak Oral Communications. The United States has a strong gun culture culminating since the incorporation of the Bill of Rights into the United States Constitution in 1791. The Second Amendment within the Bill of Rights says that a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Modern-day America faces a new social dynamic of school and mass shootings. Extraordinary amounts of gun-related homicide and gang-related violence uses firearms. With respect to our Founding Fathers' vision towards the right to bear arms, as well as to form and maintain a well-regulated militia, the United States must respond to the new threat and danger of gun-related violence by passing responsible, effective legislation that reduces gun violence in America, as well as eliminating the purchase loopholes that allow the wrong people to acquire guns in order to protect the safety of all Americans. The creation of the Second Amendment in the U.S. Constitution has been interpreted in many different ways. What was the reason for the ratification of the Second Amendment? Well, the 18th century America was a much different political and social environment than it is today. Many had fears of a tyrannical government taking over after the Revolution. There existing fears that a tyranny would be able to violate the basic freedoms and liberties that were won in their fight against Great Britain. If a civilian were armed, then they could form various militias to fight a potentially tyrannical coup. Guns that were used at the time of the publication of the Second Amendment were muskets. This type of firearm fired only one round and took several minutes to reload. Muskets are fairly inaccurate and did not inflict very much damage. The time that has elapsed since the ratification of the Bill of Rights is extremely extensive. Society, politics, and scope of life in America has developed and matured extensively as well. The culture and society of the United States has changed drastically since the conception and ratification of the Second Amendment. Fears of tyrannical takeover are irrelevant in regards in today's political culture. The United States is an established nation, one that is 240 years old and has outgrown the fears of tyrannical takeover. There are measures in place that were not around at the time of the incorporation of the Bill of Rights to prevent tyranny. These are fairly diplomatic and do not require violent behavior. The types of firearms available to the public have evolved dramatically since the days of the single-shot musket. As technology has developed, new firearms have been created and made available to citizens. New weapons can fire at a faster rate and hold a higher capacity than the ones available in the 18th century. The concerns that Americans have regarding violence and gun rights in this country have shifted as the United States embraces the changes of the 21st century. America faces new threats as 21st century nation. Mass shootings have become a very real threat to the social order of the United States. Since the start of 2016, the following has occurred: 48,497 gun-related incidents, 332 mass shootings, 25,907 injuries, 12,513 deaths. High-capacity and fast-fire rate weapons give individuals the power to inflict significant damage towards the innocent with relative ease. People have the ability to inflict acts of domestic terror with the use of a firearm. Active shooting incidents or attacks on confined or populated areas are increasing at a consistent rate. With all these alarming statistics relating to gun violence, a primer examination of the laws in place to prevent events like these must come into question in order to identify the issues allowing acts like this to continue to happen. Current legislation towards firearms at a federal level, according to federal law, is illegal and punishable up to 10 years for the following: to receive, possess, or transport a firearm or ammunition. Someone convicted of a murder under indictment for a felony punishable by more than 1 year in prison. Someone convicted of a misdemeanor punishable by more than 2 years in prison. Unlawful user of a controlled substance. Someone ruled mentally unfit to possess a firearm, or someone submitted to a mental institution. Someone convicted of a domestic violence misdemeanor. Illegal alien, or someone dishonorably discharged from the military. It is illegal and punishable by up to 10 years in prison to sell or transport any firearms or ammunition to someone while knowing or having reasonable cause to believe this. A background check must occur to see if a person falls into any of these classifications before a firearm can be sold by a federally licensed gun seller. Firearm sale loopholes include private sale of gun show loopholes. Under federal law, private individuals are not required to conduct a background check before selling or transferring a firearm to someone who lives in the same state. Default proceed loophole is under the Brady Act. If the seller has not been notified within 3 business days that the sale would violate federal or state laws, the sale may proceed by default. Online marketplace loopholes. Buyers who purchase guns via online marketplaces are not required to undergo background checks before their transactions. National Rifle Association, NRA, a special interest group that for gun owners impact on the current status of gun reform. The NRA lobbies Congress, especially the Republican Party, an extraordinary amount through campaign donations, political advertisements, and super PACs to get favorable legislations. Every year, they donate millions of dollars in campaigns and advertisements. It is obvious that there are some very serious laws and the protective measures in place to protect Americans from gun violence. While there are serious issues in our current policy, it is not too late to pass legislation and take effective measures to combat this epidemic in American life. That's it. Hey. Oh. Do you guys want to know?